You're watching Eswatini TV News Bulletin at 8, read to you by Notilesi Tole. First up, let's have a look at tonight's headlines. The Ministry of Health encourages all people to purify eating and drinking water before use to protect themselves from a potential cholera outbreak. Water levels have significantly risen in most dams across the Eswatini, with some already overspilling. And now the news in detail. Following the heavy rains received by the country on Sunday and Monday, the Ministry of Health encourages Eswatini to purify water for eating and drinking first before use to avoid cholera. The ministry's principal secretary, Dr. Simon Zwane, says the kingdom is likely to experience a cholera outbreak following the recent rains, which could have increased chances of water contamination.
The heavy rains received by the country in the past 2 days are a result of Cyclone Eloise, which made a landfall in Mozambique on Saturday. The Minister of Health Principal Secretary Simon Zwane says since the heavy rains had floods, which are likely to cause diarrhea outbreak, especially if Eswatini will not take health precautions first before consuming water.
We use a jig onto a 25-liter or 20-liter that will assist in eliminating all the unnecessary bacteria that is found in dirty water. So we would like to encourage all Eswatini to ensure that if anyone in the family is experiencing diarrhea or vomiting, let us use oral rehydration, which we can prepare ourselves using either the ones that we get from the health facilities, or we can actually use sugar and as well as salt in 1 liter of boiled water, as we usually teach. We encourage that whilst doing that, we go to health facilities to seek further treatment. This has been proven over time that it works very well, particularly in children, even in old people. It works very well to maintain them whilst we seek medical attention.
In 2016, the World Health Organization reported that there were over 100,000 cholera cases, while there were 2,420 deaths in the world. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Babane.
The rains received by the country over the weekend have resulted in 3 major dams being filled to capacity and are currently overspilling. These dams include Hawane, Lubovane and Lupotlo. This is according to the Director of the Department of Water Affairs in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy, Trevor Shongwe, during an interview with Eswatini TV News in Babane.
Following the heavy rains received by the country from the early morning of Sunday to Monday evening, this has resulted in 3 major dams in the country recording full capacity and are currently overspilling. Director of the Department of Water Affairs in the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy, Trevor Shongwe, says though the rains experienced by the country, which were caused by Tropical Cyclone Eloise, caused damages in most parts of the country, but they have made a significant contribution to the country's dams, which were no longer in good state in water levels.
3 or 4 major dams had already started overspilling. That is the Lupotlo on the Eswatini River, and then there's also the Lubovane down Spofane on the Mhlatuze River, and the Hawane Dam in the Mbuluzi River. These 3 dams had already started overspilling, and a lot of water had actually been released through the spillways of these structures. And this water then moved downstream, and it is then benefiting dams which are just located downstream of the country. A great benefit from the Hawane spilling has been observed in Njoli Dam, which then moved from 32% to 54% as we are reporting today. And this has been a significant improvement. And as of today, we noted that the amount of water just for yesterday only was around 20 million cubic meters, And this amount of water is actually nearly the size of Lupotlo Dam. If it were to fill using this water, it was going to be in one day. Another significant improvement observed was in the Makuka Dam, which as of last week, it moved from 36% to 48%, which we're currently receiving or currently observing as of today. And this again has been a quite significant improvement in the amount of water stored in this big dam. We note that Makuka is one of our major dams, 332 million cubic meters of volume, and as of now we are recording about 20 million cubic meters of water that we just collected over one day, which is from yesterday in the morning and today in the morning.
The ministry would like to urge the nation to stay away from the flooded rivers and dams, as these systems have collected a lot of water and are now a serious danger to humans. Crossing on flooded bridges and swimming or fishing in water bodies should not be done during this period. The ministry further says irrigators should ensure the safety of their pumping systems located on the river banks, as the water levels in most rivers has risen and expected to continue rising due to the overspilling of most of the dams. For Eswatini TV News, Zotro Antlameni with Muzamkonda, Babane.
Former Senator Bonsile Mngomezulu has passed away. The sad news was confirmed by her daughter Mbali Mngomezulu in a telephonic interview, who said her mother passed away on Monday this week due to COVID-19 related complications.
The deceased, Bonsile Mngomezulu, was senator in the House of Senate from 2013 to 2018. According to her oldest daughter, Mbali, she was diagnosed with COVID-19 about 2 weeks ago, and she passed on Monday at Manzini Clinic, where she was receiving treatment. She says she tested and found out she was positive for COVID-19. She fell sick and she was admitted to hospital, where she was put on oxygen. She says the former senator was on treatment for 10 days.
COVID, so was admitted esibhedlela for 4 days. Waba oxygen. Shothi nje ube seso uyahluleka nokupick up from there, but ube the COVID disease. Mangingabala kahle. If I shone itolo kusho ukuthi it was exactly 17 days since the flu started, but it was exactly 10 days since she was on the treatment. The treatment was put.
She says as a family, they are yet to discuss her burial details. Reporting, I'm Lungile Makakula in Babane.
Commercial farmers say the recent heavy rains experienced over the weekend did not cause much damage as anticipated. They say they are hopeful that their crops will pick up when the weather goes back to normal.
The heavy rains experienced over the past weekend wreaked havoc in all parts of the country, damaging business infrastructure, households and motor vehicles. Farmers were not excluded in the disasters, as their crops were also damaged by the rains. They say the damage was not as they anticipated and their crops will survive. They say crops such as green pepper, sweet potatoes and maize meal were damaged.
The heavy rains flattened 3,000 of my seedlings, but I managed to save most of them. This is a setback really, but I will overcome it.
My green pepper and sweet potatoes were damaged by the rains, but because we are determined and have outlets we have to supply, we will work hard. This is just a sad day. Our produce was ready to harvest, then this happened, but we're glad that not all our harvest was damaged. The farmers say the heavy rains have actually challenged them to consider farming using high tunnels method. Reporting, I'm Lungile Makakula in Babane.
Business Eswatini CEO Nati has expressed the organization's sense of loss following the passing away of the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Makosi Vilagati. Dlamini says the private sector, business community and workers have lost a vibrant leader who was willing to help develop the country's labour space.
And I have been sent by the private sector and my principals to come and express our deepest sympathies, firstly to His Majesty the King and his government, to express our condolences to the Honourable Minister's family, to his friends and to his relatives. Our minister has worked with us for the past 2 years extremely well. He put us together as labour, as capital, and taught us how to work together as we build this nation. He was only too aware, being the lawyer that he was, there is sometimes intractable symbiosis that exists between capital and labor, and sought to bridge those differences, and for that we thank him. He also harbored very good aspirations for a reform agenda when it comes to the labor practices of this kingdom, particularly when they had to do with foreign labor. You will be well aware that there have been sometimes differences in that area, schisms really, between sometimes getting the balance between local labor and foreign labor. And he was very instrumental in helping us to try to achieve that balance, whilst at the same time being mindful and respectful of our localization agenda.
MTN Eswatini initiated a 1.2 million emalangeni project at Lunzi to grow baby vegetables last year by using the walk-in high tunnels method through its program of 21 days of yellow care. After 3 months since they were put in place, 2 tunnels have been harvested and the crops are already on the way to the market.
As part of its corporate social responsibility, MTN Eswatini annually launches its 21 Days of Yellow Care to do charitable work in various communities. Last year, the program was done differently due to COVID-19. Hence, the decision to undertake a small project at Lunzi to grow baby vegetables under high tunnels. This project cost 1.2 million amalangeni and it benefits the youth as they have been equipped to produce baby vegetables. The company chose the tunnel method because of the unpredictable weather conditions in that area. MTN Corporate Affairs Manager Mandla Luponvo says the first harvest has been generated and the produce is already on its way to the market.
Last year, MTN Foundation partnered with Swazi Empowerment Limited and NAMPORT to roll out a project valued at 1.2 million and implemented at Lunzi through a group of young people between the ages of 21 and 35. In the main, the project involved the construction of 3 greenhouses plus a pack house. We're excited today to report that from 2 of the greenhouses, 100 crates of tomatoes have been harvested, and we are grateful to NAMPORT, who facilitates market linkages, which is to say the produce is already on its way to the market. In the coming few days, we will be harvesting. That is, the group of young people that are implementing this project will be harvesting the third tunnel. We are excited for this technology because in the first instance, we settled for greenhouse technology because we wanted to see the production of high quality vegetables in a controlled environment. And secondly, we have learned that the use of greenhouse technology helps in that it avoids the excessive loss of moisture due to excessive heat. And thirdly, we are fascinated by the ability to produce throughout the year, because at Lunzi, for instance, we have challenges of extreme cold in winter and hailstorms in summer. So we are more than excited as MTN to have been part of this project that is contributing significantly in the improvement of quality of life of young people at Lunzi. And we are also excited that in the process of implementing this project, these young people are acquiring critical skills so that they can improve food security in their own household. In the next month or so, we shall be getting into the second phase of production, and we're looking forward to starting all over again, producing another crop to contribute to the improvement of food security in the country.
This project aligns with Sustainable Development Goal number 2, which emphasizes on ending hunger and achieving food security. Reporting, I'm Lungelele Makakula in Mbabane.
Mbabane Senior Magistrate Sifiso Vilagati has recused himself from presiding over Hosiya Member of Parliament Mduduzi Mabuza's case. This is after the Crown filed that the magistrate must recuse himself from the matter where the Hosiya Member of Parliament was taken to court on 8 counts of hindering investigations in the matter where his brother Sifiso was investigated during the course of his race to be a senator.
The Crown made the recusal application that Senior Magistrate Sifiso Vilagati should not preside over the matter on November 20, 2022. Crown Representative Sbusiso Gama alleged that Vilagati would be biased in the case. Gama also said Vilagati was conflicted in listening to an electronic evidence in his chambers, which was presented by Mabuza's representative, Advocate Mduduzi Mabila. On Tuesday, when continuing with giving a ruling in the recusal application, Vilagati says it is his duty as a judicial officer to hear every case that comes before him and apply the law impartially without fear and favor. He admitted that by listening to the audio in his chambers without a certificate granting such, he erred. Vilagati says the Crown and Mabuza's representatives overlooked that at the conclusion of their investigations, the investigation team approached him in his chambers seeking a warrant of arrest against Mabuza. He says having satisfied himself about the application, he issued the warrant of arrest against Mabuza. He says if it is grossly irregular for a presiding officer to hear an application for bail when he has previously taken down a confession from the same accused, then the same applies in this case. Mabuza's representative in the case did not oppose Vilagati's ruling. It will now be presided by a principal magistrate. On another note, before the case could resume, there were heated arguments between Mabuza and the police on the number of people who were to enter the court. The police officers said due to COVID-19 regulations, only 10 people will be allowed in court. A plain-clothed police officer said he will not be bullied by Mabuza. At that point, argument escalated and eventually Sipofane Member of Parliament Mduduzi Melane, who was standing nearby, intervened and pulled MP Mabuza outside of court. Within a short of time, more plain-clothed police officers were seen at the court premises, and it later they both agreed that only 10 members of parliament should be allowed in court. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Mbabane.
February 5th is the deadline set for schools to submit their applications to be part of the Junior Achievement Program. This was announced by the organization's Chief Executive Officer, Phethile Masilela, who said this deadline applies to Form 2 and Form 4.
Junior Achievement Director Phethile Masilela encourages schools to forward their recruitment applications for this year.
As Junior Achievement, we would like to encourage and request all schools that want to participate in our programs for the Form 2 classes and the Form 4s this year. Basically, we'll be doing all our lessons online like last year, but we would like all schools that want to participate, the head teachers or any admin person, to register the school for the participation in our program. We do financial literacy in Form 4, and then we do Job Shadow and JA Company in the Form 4s. If you want to register your school, please go to our link that goes like www.tnm.org.za jaswaziland.org/registration/. Let me repeat, www.jaswaziland.org/registration/. So that is the link you will use. You're going to find the guidelines there that will tell you how to register. We encourage schools to participate in these programs because they do assist the students when they leave school with the capacity on how to manage their businesses should they need to start their businesses. And the financial literacy is also very critical in terms of building the capacity of the students on financial issues. So every student has a right to participate. We encourage all schools to register for this program. Thank you.
Junior achievement programs have been a success as it had produced young and successful business people. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Mbabane.
A very good evening once again. You're still watching Eswatini TV News. Now we'll have a look at our sports news. The Eswatini Netball Association says COVID-19 stopped their plans of sending an umpire and a coach to South Africa for a workshop. The association secretary Ndombi Masango says they expected the coach and umpire to learn a lot in South Africa and return home to share what they learned with other players.
Netball has been suspended in the country since last year March, when the government suspended all sporting activities after the outbreak of the coronavirus. Even though it's been almost a year since the suspension of the sport, the association is very optimistic that the games will be allowed to host their activities soon again. The association had planned to send an umpire and a coach to South Africa for a workshop in South Africa. Secretary of the association, Ndombi Masango, says they had hoped the umpire and coach will help share their knowledge with other coaches.
Eswatini Netball Association singasho nje ukuthi sithikamekile ngalesimo lesikhona se-COVID.
Masango says as an association they have been greatly affected by the coronavirus outbreak, as they wanted to send an umpire and a coach to South Africa for a workshop that was sponsored by Netball Africa. Masango says it was going to help them in that they wanted to use them to help teach local coaches and umpires, but above that they will be used in the national team.
National team level.
Masango says they wanted to use this period to prepare for the resumption of the games, as they do not want to be disturbed anyhow when they finally resume with their activities, unlike previous years when they were at times forced to cancel their games because they did not have enough umpires, especially for school games. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi, Mbabane.
That's all for now. Before we conclude, let's have a relook at tonight's headlines. The Ministry of Health encourages all people to purify eating and drinking water before use to protect themselves from a potential cholera outbreak. Water levels have significantly risen in most dams across the Eswatini, with some already overspilling. And with that, we wrap up our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team here at Eswatini TV. Thank you for watching. Good night.